Gosh, my shirt is on all weird. All right, everybody. So, this is an interesting video, and I don't really know what arguments we're going to be tackling here. It's surprisingly long for this type of topic, but we haven't checked out Sydney Watson in quite some time, so I thought I thought we'd drop in, pop in, check it out, see what she's been up to. And her most recent video was 11 days ago, and it's called The Children of OnlyFans Mothers. It's got 25,000 likes and 337,000 views. God damn, that's a lot of support. Like I said, I made that argument before. The conservative content viewers be dropping those likes. You see, there's this trend of young men and Gen Z viewing OnlyFans and other entrepreneurial, self-made sex work sites like that as a corruptive force that is using money to lure pure young women into making horrible decisions they can never take back. The problem is, in a way, this is partially true. Much like YouTube, 99% of OnlyFans models will never see any real success or money that's worth making it their full-time job, or certainly worth getting images and videos of them doing sex acts out on the internet. It's a very small percentage that'll ever reach that point, infinitesimally small. However, many young women, they turn 18, and one of the first things they do is they make an OnlyFans account. And, some dudes probably follow it. And then very quickly they realize, wow, after, I don't know, a few months, a year, whatever it may be, much like any other online career pursuit, it's not really profitable. And so they shut it down. And they try to go get, a normal wage KG job, right? But then, next thing they know, there are guys sending photos from their OnlyFans to their family, their friends, their boss, their co-workers, shit like that. I'm not making up a story right now. That has happened. Now, is that a problem with sex work or sex workers? No, I'm not going to delude myself into thinking so. It's more so a problem with the men, primarily, who consume that content and view sex workers as, their wank material and their, entertainment, right? There are a lot of people who love harassing sex workers and trying to ruin their lives, right? Famously sending nudes to their family members, right? And friends, partners, whatever it may be. Regardless, though, besides that, there's a lot of discussion around OnlyFans models. Isn't that kind of revenge porn? That is just revenge porn, straight up. It's not kind of revenge porn, it just is revenge porn. However, moving from that, there's more discussion around the concept of, is it bad for sex workers to be parents, particularly mothers? The very common talking point is, imagine being 12 years old or 13 years old and you go to school and your friends find out your mom was a OnlyFans girl and they all have photos of her naked and they're all dogging on you. I'm gonna be honest, even I imagine that scenario and it makes me wanna just delete my profile and start a new one. If you know what I mean. Just start a new game. Right, delete this profile. It's very much a horrifying thought, I must say, the amount of, stigmatization around it that would lead to massive amounts of harassment and derision. It's a scary thought. And so the argument is basically you wouldn't want a kid to have a mom who's a sex worker because think about the harassment we'll do to them, right? We have to harass sex workers. Otherwise, we'll have to harass their kids. It doesn't really make much sense when you think about it. The more logical conclusion would be, maybe I should fight to destigmatize this so people can do their non-harmless job and it doesn't have any impact on their kids, right? But no, it's far more profitable to sensationalize this and make a video called The Children of OnlyFans Mothers. There's also some weird content out there I've heard where it's moms that make OnlyFans content sexualizing breastfeeding and stuff. I feel like OnlyFans probably doesn't allow that type of content, but she might touch on that. I know that was a big thing back in 2016 on YouTube. there would be mom breastfeeding channels that were clearly sexualizing it on YouTube, kind of like the naked yoga loophole. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube right now and search naked yoga and see what comes up. It's real. So yeah, I wonder if she'll talk about that too and try to say this is like some broad moral condemnation that applies to all women that do OnlyFans.
Yes, here we are again together, crying inside.
Wow, so quirky.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by me and my new company, Lions Tea Exchange, which...
Man, all these people are starting their own companies now. Even once their YouTube channels fall flat, they've got like their own non-connected to their brand, their conservative brand, like sneaking into the market, like companies. Like the Quartering's got coffee, Sydney Watson's got tea. Jesus Christ. I will say, I do think the left needs to put a lot more effort conceptually into financial responsibility. The right loves glorifying investing, starting businesses, all that kind of stuff. And a large part of that has to do with stuff like one of the easiest ways to get into investing is to buy a house. Like, buy a house and then become a landlord. Like, that is the step one for the average American, the best way to increase your social status in America. Buy a house, buy another house once you're able to afford it, and then rent out the previous house and become a landlord. It sucks to be a landlord. You could be a good landlord, but being on the left, a lot of people just simply have a moral disgust at that idea. The same goes for like investing in stocks. There's nothing wrong with investing in stocks. I invest in stocks. I haven't made a lot of money from it, and I invest very low risk, low reward, but I still invest in stocks, and I hope to eventually be able to, see that little number climb over time, And I think a lot more people need to get into it. I would never become a stock YouTuber, like a stocks or crypto sort of bro or recommendation YouTuber, because then I put a lot of people's financial security, it becomes my responsibility when I give that kind of advice. But regardless, I would encourage you guys to check it out if you can. If you can put aside $10 per paycheck into investing, it's worth it. It's worth it. You can just keep on adding it up over time. And then, of course, you've got the increase in the general market, like invest in an index fund, like the S&P 500, really strong one, a really safe one, that just basically has an overall, like, upwards trajectory over time. And over time, you'll have a pretty general increase in funds. It's not going to make you a millionaire by any means, but maybe you learn more about stocks and it ends up being your intro, and maybe you end up deciding to sell when that stock is high and take the money that you've made and invest it in something a little higher risk, higher reward, and maybe get involved in like one of those Wall Street bets market manipulation things. I don't know. But regardless, I do think the right needs to like lose this monopoly on like starting businesses off of YouTube content and like genuinely engaging in financial responsibility. Like Hassan, for example, like he has so much money he could actually start a real business, but he just kind of doesn't, for some reason. Like, he could literally start, like, I don't know, a coffee brand or something. It's, like, ethically made or sourced or whatever. I don't know. My principles limit me. I do think the left is unironically hindered to the point where it cannot win in some ways by some of its more, like, fanatically held principles. Principles aren't bad. Fanatically held principles, I think there's areas where things can be bent.
Which, if you haven't checked out, you definitely should, because the tea is great and you'll love it, and it's linked in the description box. Now, if you have been here for any length of time orbiting this planet of insanity and sadness, you will already be aware that I have covered the topic of OnlyFans a bunch on this channel.
Wow, I just realized that she's obnoxious and I should speed up this video or we're gonna be here for a while. There we go.
But what I have never discussed, at least in detail, is the effect that this is having and potentially going to have going forward on children whose parents make adult content. Because I'm sure this issue is going...
This has always been a thing, and there's been no evidence supplied by conservative red pill people whatsoever that OnlyFans has seen like a substantial percentage of women get into sex work. Like, conservatives would literally have you believe that, like, 2, 3, 4, or even 5% of women, maybe more, are into OnlyFans or sex work. They would genuinely have you believe that in America, like, a like, non below 1% amount of women are doing sex work in America. Genuinely psychotic. These people live on the internet. Their political values are based on what they see on the internet, and that is what has been leading people who think this way since, as far as I've followed it, since Gamergate, but I'm sure it's been well since before then. Before that, it was what was on TV, and then what was on the radio, and then what they saw in the newspaper, and then you can go back further to what they saw on the Daily Stone tablet inscription.
Going to be really fun for everyone going forward. As OnlyFans continues to gain traction and popularity, as more and more women seem to view this platform as a legitimate means of making a decent income, it seems that there will inevitably be consequences for families. Now, what specifically made me want to talk about this issue was a post I saw on Reddit
I would say roughly the same I'd say roughly the same percentage of OnlyFans models are making a living off of it financially as YouTubers. Granted, there are probably many women outside of America who are making their money off of OnlyFans in USD, and so maybe they've got like a much better quality of life because they got more buying power with those US dollars they're getting in like whatever country they're in. But on average, like much like YouTube, most content creators on YouTube don't make anywhere close to enough money to even be considered minimum wage. Not even close to like 10% of YouTubers make minimum wage amounts off of YouTube. Not even close. I imagine it's much the same for OnlyFans. Trust me, it is not a viable source of income that many people are like sticking with long term. There is a very, like, you have selection bias when it comes to, like, if you just look at YouTube, you'd think there's millions of big YouTubers. Because you look around, there's big YouTubers everywhere. You look at the internet or on Twitter where the OnlyFans models post, you'd think everyone's an OnlyFans model. But that's just where all the OnlyFans models are posting, so you have a selection bias.
Too long ago. Not counting for the fact that it is the internet's butt. A woman asked the subreddit, am I the a-hole, if she is in fact the a-hole for continuing to stream and post content on OnlyFans, Kick, and Twitch while her son is being bullied for it. Yeah. Probably. In the post, the mother says that she is a single parent who has been using platforms like OnlyFans and Twitch for income, netting way more than she's ever earned in any other job. However,
this is a throwaway account, for one. And on top of that, this is Am I the Asshole, the most famous subreddit for making up stories of all time. 50% of stories, at best, you read on this subreddit are made up. I guarantee you this is not a true story. But you know what? We'll give it the charitability of pretending like it is true. Like, does she think I don't know about Am I the Asshole?
Yeah. Probably. In the post, the mother says that she is a single parent who has been using platforms like OnlyFans and Twitch for income, netting way more than she's ever earned in any other job. However, despite the financial payoff, her 14-year-old son told her he is being teased by his classmates because of his mother's content, leaving him feeling humiliated and alone. The woman finished her post by writing, I'm torn between the need to maintain our financial security and the negative effects my career is having on my son. I strive to be a good mother and provider, but I'm questioning if I'm failing him.
I like how Sydney Watson's response to this, like, very, like, well-reasoned post is like, yeah, you are the asshole. When, like, she's literally saying, I really don't want my kid to get bullied and stuff, but this is literally our financial security. I need to keep, like, a roof above my son's head and, like, food on the table, you know, stuff like that. His classmates would never know. I refuse to believe this. That's definitely part, like, a hole in the story, but it's possible she's a somewhat successful OnlyFans model. But then at the same time, you could just homeschool your kid. If you work from home like that, and, like, you've got, like, a decent income, so much so that, like, it's worth continuing OnlyFans and whatnot rather than, getting a normal job, then you probably could just do homeschooling, right? Like, it just doesn't really seem like this is a realistic story. It feels very much like this is I'm a 15-year-old boy who hates those OnlyFans whores and made up a story on a throwaway account on Reddit so I can read the comments of people agreeing or calling this woman the asshole. in the made like it really seems like just another one of those made up am I the asshole stories that's clearly politically motivated. Xanderhall, maybe we should fix the problems with capitalism so women shouldn't be forced to do these things. Yeah, maybe we should do that, but that's never happening.
Him in other ways. Am I the a-hole for continuing this work despite the emotional cost it's having on my son? Ma'am, is the answer not obvious in the way that you have articulated this? Can you not read the room? The comments reacting to this post were very divided.
I'm sorry. I feel like the pressure to keep food in my child's belly and a roof above their head and electricity on so they're not cold at night and hot during the day and they have light to study and do their homework. Those things are kind of high priority for me, And if I was a parent in this situation, I would feel quite torn on what the correct decision is. Because at the end of the day, teasing is teasing, but at least the kid's getting, ends are being met. He'll understand when he's older, I don't know. I'm imagining myself in her position, and I kind of get it.
With people saying that she is the a-hole because she's contributing to the emotional anguish of her child, and it's absurd that she's surprised by this at all.
Well, this is not the assholes, what this person's saying, I think.
While others suggested that it's better to be financially stable, even
that last one said yes, asshole. This one's not asshole.
if the job is embarrassing for her son. Yes, I tend to agree that living in a cardboard box is probably not the go. But neither is letting your kid get emotionally beaten to a pulp because you want to take your clothes off on the internet for $15.
Okay, no one said beaten to a pulp. Okay, so we're all right. Look at the joy in her eyes as she makes this argument, too, at the thought of her son getting beaten. Like, I just made a really good argument. Beaten to a pulp? Okay, so for one, it is it not more of an objective that, schools should not be facilitating kids being beaten to a pulp because of what their parents do for a living? Don't you think that is, more of a problem worth addressing? At all? Rather than seeing it as, a justice act? Yes, this is justice. This is an act of nature. One thing you have to remember is that conservatives are just sort of fundamentally in favor of children getting bullied. They defend it constantly. They leave comments saying more children need to get bullied. Kids need to get bullied more. We need to bring back bullying. They love saying that because they are fundamentally, politically, ideologically in favor of children being bullied. They see it as character building. What they see it as is fun, but the character building thing almost makes it sound like they're good guys for being in favor of it. So, yeah, literally demonic take there. Literally nothing was said there about the kid getting beaten up or attacked, just teased. So we're really jumping the gun.
A month. Now, a short time later, the mother posted an update. After a long discussion with her son about his feelings, the woman said that she has decided to disable her OnlyFans and will move away from inappropriate content completely. To many people, this...
The thing is, though, that doesn't change anything. You do realize that, that doesn't change anything whatsoever because those photos are now out there. If the classmates knew about the OnlyFans account and they supposedly had images and, could verify it with their own eyes, then, the fact that she stopped doesn't change the images from existing or even being on those people's phones for all we know. Those kids' phones for all we know. And then on top of that, now you've cut off that source of income and, the kids aren't going to stop making fun of him because... it's going to go from, ha ha, your mom's a whore, to ha ha, your mom was a whore. It's not going to change at all. It's just now, ha ha, your mom was a whore, and also you've lost out on an immense amount of income. I guarantee you this is a made up ass story.
Probably seems to be the most obvious solution to the problem. And even though the damage might already be done because the images and content are already out there, at least the mother is listening to her child and taking action. But the interesting thing here is that the reaction of this mother in this particular case doesn't actually seem to be the norm. And I know what you're probably thinking here, but Sydney, this is just you basing this off of a bunch of anecdotes that you found around the internet. And you would be right.
Yes. As Lauren Southern famously said, though, data is the plural of anecdote. So if you watch enough YouTube videos of things happening online or enough Twitter videos, then you can reasonably say that there is a trend on par with a spike on a data graph.
Because it's not like we have a bunch of statistics about mothers deleting their not safe for work content off the internet because it made their child sad. Although with how things are progressing and given enough time, I don't think we're too far off. That revelation makes me terribly unhappy. Most of the stories that I've read, the women particularly who I have listened to, and the other anecdotes.
Man, women having freedom sucks, huh? Yeah, does she not realize that, like, retired porn stars have had kids for, like, decades? Like, we've had porn since the 60s and 50s, like, in video form. I'm pretty sure you've had it in visual form since before then. Like, those people had kids. They were fine. Like, also, I feel like there's a certain status of porn star where it's like, you're almost not going to get any shit, right? Like, I honestly feel like there's a certain point where you'd honestly just kind of be respected a little bit, you know? Like, if they're famous enough of a porn star, like if Mia Khalifa had a kid, I feel like the kid wouldn't be made fun of. I feel like the kid would almost be popular. Like, holy shit, Mia Khalifa's your mom? Can I come over to your house? Can I play video games at your house? Can I come to your birthday party? Oh, hello. Hi. Nice to meet you. My friend here's told me so much about you. You know, like, I feel like that's how it would go.
That I have collected from around the internet seem to have one very common thread, and that is these children are being bullied relentlessly, not only by their peers, but generally by, I guess, wider society. They are being punished for the content that their mums and sometimes dads post and make online. The parents are aware of this, but they don't intend to stop. Not to mention the young OnlyFans women who don't yet have children but want them in the future are incredibly flippant and very cavalier about how this will affect their little ones somewhere down the road. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
I do think there's some truth in that, but, like, so? The objective is for there not to be stigmatization. Like, you're trying to create... This video's goal is to make stigma, which will be the consequences these kids have to face. Like, they are pretending as though... It's like the snake who's bitten you, telling you have to, like, let it bite you more to be cured of its venom. You know? Like, that's not how it works. You have to... you know, fight to destigmatize this kind of stuff, so by the time these women do have kids, it's seen as a normal, fine thing. But that's not what she wants. The problem isn't that these kids could be bullied. The problem is that sex work is normalized at all. She is ideologically opposed to women having the freedom to have sex work as a viable option career-wise. The thing is, arguing against women's freedoms does not look very good. Even as a woman, it doesn't look very good. So she's trying to take this sort of maternal, like, I know what's better for women approach. Like, the left is actually, you know, they don't know what's good for women. I do. The right does. Freedom doesn't actually help women. It hurts them. They can't make good choices. Look at them.
The children of OnlyFans parents, and more specifically mothers, because there's just more of them, and what on earth is going on here? And of course, once again, all of my regular disclaimers, this is by no means an exhaustive video. I am not going to hit every single point of this topic in this video. This is a snapshot that is based on observation, my opinion, and a little bit of analysis, because once again, we do lack, you know, meaningful empirical evidence that might help us explain some of what's going on and some of the effects and consequences that come along with this topic, which I feel like is obvious, but I always have to say. So with that being said, and before you once again board my hell gondola and together we traverse this river of sadness and cry tears of more sadness for Generation Alpha, who I am assuming are the primary generation who's going to be affected by this, let's hear from today's sponsor, which is me, Lions Tea Exchange.
Okay, more? Okay, all right. I think we're gonna... Okay, we're gonna skip past this second sponsor segment of her own company in the video. Like... Every time I start to feel bad for doing a call to action, like I'm maybe being too e-beggy or something like that, I cover one of these videos and I immediately see these people get away with 1,000 times more e-beggar behavior. And I'm just like, yeah, you guys need to comment down below on this video to increase engagement and leave a like. You guys can't give me shit for asking for that. Leave a like and comment down below when this goes out as a video. Seriously, it helps a lot. I don't know. Leave a comment with your favorite food. That I'm actually curious if actually no, you know what I'm curious about? Comment down below what your favorite American fast food restaurant is. Mine is Five Guys. I want to see if there are more Five Guys homies in the audience. Like, I want to see how many people concur with my Five Guys take being the best fast food in America. I mean, it's borderline not even fast food. It's almost like crossing over into like restaurant food. But regardless, I think it classifies as fast food. You can get it to go, like through a drive-thru in some places. So, yeah. Yeah, do you like putting Five Guys in your mouth? Comment down below what your answer is. But seriously, I want to know how many Five Guys people I got in my audience. Regardless, though, In-N-Out's okay. It's like budget Five Guys. In-N-Out is cheaper Five Guys. It's good. I went to In-N-Out. I had some. And, like, the burgers, the fries weren't as good, but the burger in particular, it was like a thinner, lighter, less food, but substantially cheaper in price Five Guys. Like, if there was no Five Guys around, or I needed to, like, eat something on a budget and I was in the mood for Five Guys, In-N-Out would unironically, like, you know, that would hit the spot. Yeah, you gotta go in and out of Five Guys constantly. Yeah. Yeah. I like Five Guys, but it is kind of expensive, isn't it? Yes, it's quite expensive. Five Guys is a little overpriced. We should stop talking about restaurants now and skip this spot. Haha! I love how the peak viewership on this video is after the sponsor segment, because everyone fucking skips it because no one gives a shit about her stupid tea.
Go and order the tea, you know you want to. In late 2023, a woman called Sarah Cheek and her family were banned from an ice rink in their Florida town. During an ice hockey game, her 9-year-old son was involved in an altercation instigated by another player. A parent in the stands reportedly cheered when the child was hurt, while others ridiculed the boy. Cheek and her husband confronted the parents, which led to a bigger conflict, where she was reportedly threatened with physical violence. A few days later, as a result of these events, Cheek and her family were banned from—
Okay, how is she going to twist this into this mother is selfish for not caving to societal pressure and the abuse she's receiving for her line of work, that there's no excuse for and no justification for? Like, how is she the bad guy in this and not the people who assaulted her child and the people who, like, kicked her out of the skating? Like, really? Really? This is where we're at? And it's fucking Florida. I believe this story.
From the rink, while the other parents involved—
Plus, I recognize this station. I know it's real.
—were not. Sarah Cheek is well known in her community for producing content on OnlyFans. She also—
Okay, hold on. Let me write that down. One sec, chat. One sec. Sarah Cheek. Okay, save that. Saving that for later. Okay, nope, just, you know, just saving that name for later. Don't worry about it.
Appeared on the cover of Playboy and now has a pretty solid gig doing sports commentary. During an interview with WFLA, Cheek and her husband Matt were asked if it makes them anxious knowing that anyone can subscribe to her OnlyFans and subsequently affect their 4 kids. Matt Cheek answered no.
It doesn't make me anxious because the way that I look at it is it shouldn't impact my 4 kids.
That is a Florida man right there. Look at this man's Salt Laugh shirt. This guy loves MILFs. This guy, he loves fishing. Look at that, the Salt Life shirt. This is a Florida man. This is a Florida man right here. He just cares about fishing.
Think that it's okay to treat a child anyway, based on the parents' job.
Having things happen.
I like how we're like Sydney Watson is saying, "Is this you?" and then showing us like the most base thing ever, and it's like this family that's like absolutely like happy. They're being discriminated against, which sucks, but they've got money, clearly. Happy couple, happy family. Like, yeah. How are they the bad guys? I'm curious, Sydney Watson. Let's see you frame these people as the bad guys somehow.
Happened to our children has been really hard because we turn off work. We're parents in that situation. And to see them get affected, it's probably the most heartbreaking thing anybody can experience.
The pair also claim that this isn't even the first time Cheek's explicit content has affected their children. In the past few years, she has been banned from attending her daughter's cheerleading events, and her sons were booted from their football league. One of the pair's sons was even suspended.
What? Why getting banned from events? For, like, the kid, like, really? Really? Okay, can we start with, like, the hilarious elephant in the room, okay? Imagine the school banning an adult woman whose day job or night job, whatever you want to call it, is to do sex work online. Nothing to do with, like, when she goes out in public and is living her life. At an event which is A school cheerleading event. Like, I don't know why we still have high school cheerleaders being a thing. I appreciate that in recent years we've made the like costumes whatever more modest, but it is still conceptually a little weird, especially the way that like the dads talk about it. You guys know. If you guys lived in like a smaller town that had like events hosted at the stadium, they had cheerleaders, and you heard what like the boomer creepo dads would say when you were in the stands, like, you know. And maybe you didn't even think about it that deep because you were, you know, like a 16-year-old at the time. And so, like, hearing adults talk that way about 16-year-olds that you found attractive because you were 16, it doesn't really click for you. But then you look back at that as an adult and you're like, oh, those guys were fucking creeps. Like, a lot of the dads that are just sitting there watching that not all of them, but a lot of the men watching those cheerleading events, kind of creepy, you know? Regardless, though, it's hilarious that the adult woman who keeps the sexual stuff at home, it's her job, is getting, like, booted out of an event like that.
From school. I think most of us can agree that punishing a child for the sins of their parents is...
The sins? The sins of their parents? Providing for their family?
Probably not the way to go. But for parents to act surprised and blindsided when these things inevitably happen in these situations is wild.
Like, people gonna people. I feel like that's pretty well established.
This is how they justify, like, this is why you shouldn't in any way advocate for destigmatization of things that people find bad, but there are no real reasons to find bad. The only real reason it's bad or harmful is because people gonna people. You can't change that. Just accept it and go with what society tries to force you into. Don't fight society. Be a bitch to society. Fall into the mold that it wants you to be. Get hammered into what society wants you to be. Don't be an individual. Don't think for yourself. Be an NPC. Be one of millions and be content.
Now, I don't have pudding people as of yet, but I would assume that a general consensus among decent parents is that if you're doing something that causes your child harm or distress or pain, whether it be physical or emotional, you stop. The same thing would go...
I like the implication here that, like, doing it is what is causing the kids pain, not people's shitty opinions about it are what's causing them pain. Can you imagine the same argument, like, gay parents, like a kid has gay parents and because of that is getting teased at school, and it's like, the fact that you won't break up with your boyfriend and get with a woman, as you probably should, you are hurting your children. The fact you won't stop hurting your children is disgusting. You're abusing your children. Like, that is the argument they use? That is the argument they use. I can't imagine her saying that, to be fair.
For any other relationship with a person you love and care about, like a spouse or a parent or a close friend. But that dynamic is really exacerbated when you are dealing with a child, someone who can't just often cut you out of their lives and over whom you have a degree of control. But rather than doing that, identifying that OnlyFans and the creation of explicit content is causing children pain and stopping, the Cheeks have done what many other content creators in similar situations...
No, it's bullying. Bullying is what's causing children pain. But you don't want to say bullying is bad because, like, 50% of your viewers would get pissed off at that statement because they're the people who say kids need to be bullied, otherwise they'll become trans or they'll be allowed to fall into their gay urges or whatever.
...have also done. Blamed everyone else and no one down. This is actually an attitude that I came across again and again while looking into this topic, and I suppose it brings me to my first point about this issue. These people seem to believe that sex work, as they call it, is as innocuous as any other profession.
Sex work, as they call it. Okay, how is it not innocuous in a way that doesn't involve people having a bad stigma towards it? How is it objectively, in a vacuum, a bad thing?
And if it makes them feel good, then really no harm done. In July 2021, in another Reddit post, a mother allegedly likened her OnlyFans content to working in a bank or a grocery store. Okay.
It's bad because of bullying again. Once again. So there's literally no world in which it's bad, like, objectively, in a vacuum. It's all just people react and treat others in a bad way and stigmatize it negatively. And if we stopped, then none of these things would be a problem. But we have to pretend like stopping that stigma is not possible. And so, and like the only reasonable response is to like go with the flow of society.
You what? The post gained media attention because the 13-year-old child who wrote it expressed that his mother's actions and content make him want to self-delete, especially after he became the target of bullies at his school. When the child tried discussing that with his mum, she apparently said that it makes her feel good about herself, making the explicit content, and that her son should be happy that she's more confident now.
I feel like this is the same argument that meth heads make, except rather than making them feel more confident, I guess it just deadens them inside. Probably just like how this little boy is currently feeling. That got dark.
The flippancy and the arguable selfishness expressed...
I feel like a kid being suicidal because of the parent's job is a really weird explanation. Normal people aren't suicidal because of inconsequential things that don't physically, like, destroy their quality of life in a realistic way, right? Like, clearly it's bullying. Like, as they said, bullying and taunting is what's causing the depression. And clearly there's already a pre-existing state of lessened mental health quality in this child to begin with. Normal people don't feel suicidal. It comes with already pre-existing non-correctly functioning brain chemistry coinciding with usually a genuinely really bad thing happening to them to cause it, which is bullying here. Once again, Sydney Watson can't just say bullying is bad. We should be anti-bullying.
In this post reminded me a lot of an interview on the Other People's Lives podcast from February 2023. The hosts, Joe and Greg, interviewed a...
They're scheduled ahead of time, Water. I can't control when my stream... That's not how it works, Water.
Woman who makes explicit content with her husband and other men. This is gonna be great. During the episode, Joe and Greg asked the woman about how her chosen profession affects her 3 children, 2 of her older daughters being 11 and 14 at the time of recording. She said that in order to circumvent them finding out about her quote-unquote job from other people, she opted to tell them herself. I would love to be a fly on the wall while these conversations are going down.
Mommy, why am I being bullied at school? I'm sorry, Marta. It's 2024 and sex work is real work and I put all my areolas on the internet to pay for your piano lessons. I'm sorry.
I think it might be like paying to keep food in their kid's stomach and a roof over their head. I like in the like made up scenario like skit she did. It's this implication that it's like, oh yeah, they already have plenty of like spare income. You know, as if there's like a day job or something. This is just, you know, extra side money. It's just for fun, you know? It's not like there are like mothers that are doing it as their source of income to keep their children fed and clothed, you know? Is she one of those pick-me's that feels women are lesser? If she is, then why would we listen to her by logic? So a good example of why I feel like this is where we can start wrapping up this segment anyway, because she's just kind of being, you know, smugly wrong and repeating the same arguments that the kids will get bullied, bullying isn't the problem, it's the fact that the kids will get bullied. You have to do what the bullies want, you know. Yeah, that's always the message you want to get. Do what the bullies want, give in to bullies. That is of course the message that Sydney Watson wants you to get from this video. But yeah, like, let me give you an example. My friend has a roommate, or actually 2 roommates that are not really one of them is pretty goddamn conservative. The other one is like not really political all that much, but both of them watch Brett Cooper. And both of them completely stopped watching Brett Cooper recently. Just a couple days after she announced that she was getting married. That's why people watch Sydney Watson. That's all you need to know.